the age of digital networks is
General Shekatkar from the famous Shekatkar committee thought appropriate a decade back to start a think tank which is independent.
And the nuclear plant in Russia was crippled by a ransomware attack. And we'll see this kind of things.
Welcome once again to the third and the final webinar in the series that we started day before yesterday. This particular subject, which is a very, very topical subject, information warfare in the age of digital networks, is something that impacts all of us in different ways. And at Center for Knowledge Sovereignty, we have been striving to bring the right perspectives, different angles to this particular subject. We had Lieutenant General Shekatkar, who spoke on the first day, and then we had Lieutenant General Ata Hasnain, who spoke on the second day, and today we are on the third day of the series. Before we start off with the third speaker and me introducing him, I would first like to invite Mr. Vinod Goenka, who will give you a little snapshot of what Center for Knowledge Sovereignty is. He will share why we are actually doing this particular series.
Thank you, Uma, and welcome everybody. Thank you, General Kulkarni, for accepting our invitation. I thought it would be appropriate for us to introduce CKS to the audience at large and also to General Kulkarni. We have been seeing a lot of think tanks in India, many of them doing very good job, but we've also had a challenge. Think tanks were driven by corporates, people who had agendas, and they were being pampered and pushed by people who had different type of agenda rather than having a national. General Shekatkar, also known as Lieutenant General Shekatkar, from the famous Shekatkar committee, thought appropriate a decade back to start a think tank which is independent, not been funded by anybody. There is no bank account to this think tank. And we thought it will be appropriate for us to focus on something which is tomorrow's war. World was moving out of the kinetic war towards a non-kinetic war. And it was thought appropriate a decade back. And we maintained that for a decade to have 2 or 3 programs in a year, but focused on the fifth generation technology, fourth industrial revolution, the war of tomorrow, the war of data. Subsequently, there were various people who interacted with the organization. The organization is capably led by Lieutenant General Shekatkar, assisted by Lieutenant General Patil, Air Vice Marshal Pranay Sinha, Uma Sudhindran, who just spoke in front of you. I'm there. Inspector General of BSF, Shri Sharma is there, Sumitra Goenka, and many more are member of the team, and they run this. We focus on 5th generation technology, especially the artificial intelligence, geospatial technologies, cyber security, and sensors. We believe that tomorrow's war, not only the strategic wars, but also the civilian conflicts, the life would be impacted by 5th generation technology. And we thought that there should be discussion, there should be appropriate debate, which then formulates into a policy paper. We are happy that we have shared these papers with the lawmakers, and lawmakers have many times taken cognizance of this. One of the famous books came out of this think tank is known as Data Sovereignty, which was written by 4 journalists, 1 raw officer, and 2 civilians. Resultant, the word data sovereignty became discussable debates in the parliament. It was mentioned many, many times. Then it was discussed by the minister and also the bureaucrats, and we saw many legislations and regulations been discussed around that particular part. I'm happy that whatever has been done in Center for Knowledge Sovereignty of importance to the country. We are very conservative, we are small, but we are highly focused. And we are also blessed that we have people like Lieutenant General Shekatkar, Lieutenant General Ata Hasnain, and today Lieutenant General Kulkarni, who thought of coming and addressing us. I welcome you all on behalf of CKS. Thank you, Uma, for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you, Vinod. For nation states and adversaries within, metadata is the silent weapon they use in information warfare. Today, we have Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, PVSM, AVSM, Shaurya Chakra, SM, VSM, to address us on this particular aspect of information warfare. It's a pleasure to welcome you here, sir. I would like to give a brief introduction. I mean, I can actually spend the next 1 hour talking about Lieutenant General Kulkarni, but I would like to give a brief introduction to our audience. An alumnus of Officer Training Academy, Chennai, Lieutenant General Kulkarni was commissioned in 1977 into Fort Kumau. In an illustrious career spanning 39 years, he has served in all terrains and participated in all major operations of the Indian Army. General Kulkarni's name is etched in the golden history of Siachen Glacier as the first company commander to land on the glacier. For leading his platoon to unfurl the national flag on Belafond La, he was decorated with the Shaurya Chakra. He has served in various capacities in integrated headquarters of the Ministry of Defense, in DSC, AG, QMG, and MGO's branches, and has also been an instructor at the National Defense Academy. He has the distinction of serving in 26RR, a mountain brigade in Tawang, and an infantry division in Likhabali. He is an alumnus of all the prestigious institutes associated with the armed forces, including the NIDS in Japan and the National Defense College in Delhi. He has also served as Chief of Staff in Leh and in Eastern Command before taking over as DG Infantry. He has the unique distinction of being decorated for gallantry as well as sterling leadership qualities and dedication to duty. Besides being one of the most decorated officers of the Indian Army, General Kulkarni is also a very keen sportsman and a voracious reader. He currently resides in Delhi. Sir, it is a tremendous honor and privilege to introduce you to our audience here this evening, and I hand over the platform.
Thank you, Uma. Thank you, Vineet. Thank you, General Shekatkar, General Patil, and of course, General Ata Hasnain, who is responsible for most of my going to field areas as an MS that he was. But notwithstanding, fantastic. I couldn't have asked for a platform to be able to speak to you all. And let's begin with what we have to talk about today, the information warfare in the age of digital network.
American 11, are you trying to call?
The cockpit is not answering their phone. Our number 1 has been tapped and our 5 has been tapped.
And what a call from Washington. I am in a situation where Americans are under possible hijack.
What's going on, Betty? The aircraft is erratic again. Problems very erratic. Betty, come to me. Betty, are you there? Betty? Betty? A plane just hit What? It's a 737.
Did what?
Like the World Trade Center. Who are you talking to?
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
United 175, New York. We have some problems over here right now. We might have a hijack over here, 2 of them. Fuel is Ryan, on an airplane that's been hijacked. If things don't go well, it's not looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. Go have a good time. Same to my parents and everybody. And I just totally love you, and I'll see you later, Chester. Bye, babe.
What are those people going to do? All the elevators are blocked out.
Oh my God, so both towers are now.
Okay, I got an aircraft 6 miles east of the White House.
Crystal City, just north of Crystal City.
Just to the north of your town.
Yeah, stop all departures.
Pentagon just got hit. Don't put me in that. God damn, I can't even protect my NCA. United 93, that traffic for you is 1 o'clock, 12 miles eastbound 370. Negative contact, we're looking, United 93. United 93, Cleveland, if you hear the center right then. I got that bitch, dog. Keep remaining sitting. You have the ball, boss.
Tuesday, 9:47 a.m.
Hi, baby. Baby, you have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked. I'm on the plane. I'm calling from the plane. I want to tell you I love you. Please tell my children that I love them very much. And I'm so sorry, babe. I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. I love you. Bye.
Number 56865. We have, I believe it is a Boeing 757. Can you see him up there, sir?
That's confirmed. It looks like he's rocking his wings.
Roger.
He's rocking back and forth.
Number 56865, I advise you stay away from that aircraft. Go north as fast as you can.
United 93, have you got information on that yet?
Yeah, he's down.
He's down?
Yes.
When did he land?
He did not land.
Oh, he's down?
Yeah,
Down?
somewhere up northeast of Camp David.
Honestly, I just want to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. There's lots of smoke, and we just wanted you to know that I love you always.
At number 2 World Trade Center, right. Lady was shooting in the walking. We're not ready to die, but it's getting bad.
I'm gonna die, aren't I? No. I'm gonna die. Liv, say your prayers. We're gonna think positive because you gotta help each other get off the floor. Now. Die.
A new type of war. That's what it is.
You know, these kind of pictures really give you goosebumps even today when you see when enemy is determined, it can do anything, just anything. And that's what all warfare is all about. Be it hijacking, be it terrorism, and now the information war. If that wasn't enough, it was in May 2017 when one of our own Sukhoi 30 fighter aircrafts of the Indian Air Force crashed in a remote area of Arunachal Pradesh, and use of cyber weapon was not ruled out as was considered one of the reasons for the mysterious mishap. June 2017 again, the target shipping container port in India and the nuclear plant in Russia were crippled by a ransomware attack. You can well see these kind of things are going to increase. The world, though of course knowledge is power, is shrinking, the kind of destruction and ability to destroy is really mind-boggling. We got to be talking today on information warfare in the age of a digital network. A lot of it has been covered by my two illustrious predecessors, and they're all brilliant people, both Gen Shekatkar and Gen Ata Hasnain. I am the third and the last speaker, and grateful to you all to have given me the opportunity. I'll try and put across some of my own experiences to see how we've gone about in the service, how information warfare has helped us, how information warfare has also crippled us at some places. Information warfare, simply put, is an orchestrated effort to achieve victory by subverting or neutralizing an enemy command. And that enemy is just not command, it's enemy command and control, what we call as the C2 system, while protecting use of own command and control to seize initiative from an enemy commander, based on the premise that information is a strategic asset. A portion of the IW doctrine seeks to disrupt or deny access to information in order to seize initiative from an adversary. That's the most important line, to seize an initiative from the adversary. The other half of the IW doctrine seeks to maintain the integrity of our information, distribution of the same infrastructure. Now, information warfare can affect political, economic, and military targets. IW could sabotage an economy by reducing international confidence in a nation's currency. It can cause an adverse default of payments. The satellite communication can be terminated. Strategic information warfare waged independently would cause an adversary to lose in the own data that we have. It greatly increases confusion, and that is the most difficult part of the whole thing. At the operational level, the interference with enemy data management system could create damaging time, delays in the enemy's ability to make and implement decisions on the tactical level. IW is able to complement the use of other systems to reduce dangers to friendly forces and increase chances of success. Information warfare opens new avenues for the conduct of politico-military operations. On the lower level of the conflict spectrum, it could covert intrusion into an opponent's command and control system, which may provide a unique insight into their political intentions and decision-making process as tensions rise. It may be necessary to send a signal to demonstrate our concern. In the science fiction movie, the classic that we saw was that the day the Earth stood still, we saw that alien named Klaatu. What did he do? He immobilized the Earth for an hour to demonstrate his power. And that's what can happen. Now imagine in 1971 war, if you recollect, we had dropped leaflets in Bangladesh, and those leaflets just conveyed to the Pakistani army that you were surrounded from all sides and it will be no use fighting it out. If you wish to fight it out, good enough, you'll all die. But should you wish to surrender, well, the Geneva Convention is there to protect all of you and you will be taken care of. And guess what happened? 97,000 Pakistanis surrendered. If that wasn't enough, in the recent past, we had information warfare. Again, the leaflets dropped by the US Army on Somalia, just to tell them that we're here to protect you. And you saw not just the Somalian, all the military, but also the civilian population given. So that is what is most impact. If the leaflets could be giving so much of impact, well, you can well imagine what it could be otherwise. Information warfare, sometimes referred to as the information operations, can be thought of as any type of conflict that involves the manipulation, degradation, denial, or destruction of information. And that is where the whole thing lies. What I saw of late, that the three aspects of the information warfare identified are the command and control, the intelligence-based warfare, and the psychological warfare. And in the psychological warfare, I would just like to dwell, because what we see now is happening in Pangangso, is what's happening along the LAC in Eastern Ladakh. You see what the Global Times is doing. You see the kind of internet inputs that we are getting, the kind of threats, the kind of pictures that we all see of the live fire drills that are going on, the artillery, the kind of mechanized warfare, you find the kind of missiles firing going on. This is nothing but trying to put pressure and coercion to be able to convey to the opponent, in right now the opponent being India for the Chinese, to the Chinese line. The kind of threats that if you were not given to our way of thinking, we would humiliate you 5 times more than what we've done in 62. Just see the kind of, and what is this entire Global Times? The mouthpiece of the Communist Party of China. It can distort information. It has not even 24 hours had passed. The 2 foreign ministers hadn't even come out of their discussions after 2 hours of discussion that they wanted to do on a 5-point agenda they were discussing. The Global Times had the audacity to publish that the foreign minister of India has said he would de-link the existing, what is going on along the LAC with our relations with China. That's what we've been doing all along with China. We de-linked the border dispute to say that the border dispute would be settled gradually with talks and we'll take it on turn, but the trade would continue. But what the Chinese had done now, our stand was absolutely clear that until and unless you ensure that you go down to status quo ante, from where for peace and tranquility, there is no question the relations can't be normal. It was very, very clear. But just see the Global Times, how it distorted it. So this distortion which takes place, because after all, how many of us would really be getting to know? But the doubt has been put. Decided to strangulate the internal system. They have got into and manipulating the system. They manipulated the WTO. They manipulated the WHO. You saw the kind of Wuhan virus that is taking place. Slowly and steadily, they are trying to convince the world. Not they. The laboratory from where it started is the one which was almost gifted by France to them. There's so much investment of France and the scientists from there. And there it is. Aim of China is to tell the world that we are not responsible for the Wuhan virus. It could be anybody else. And they had almost succeeded in telling the world that it was America which had started by putting the Wuhan virus, and then it got out of their box from China and the world over. This is the kind of information and the distortion which can actually affect everybody and anybody in the world. Now, even a small, if I can take you to, since as the Chief of Staff of 14 Corps, I can tell you, over the years, we found Pangangso, we hear so much of finger 4 to finger 8 and all these talks which are going on. They ensured that from to finger 4, the road had been made along the time 99 when the Kargil operations were going on. They kept quiet about it. Nothing. They were doing nothing. They just made a quick thing and went back and did nothing thereafter for so many years. 99 till date, they were all quiet about it. Advantage that they had was they could patrol easily because the vehicles could come up to patrol point finger 4 and then go back. Whereas we had to walk. So this is the kind of thing they were continuously. Every time we would have a BPM or discussion with them, they would be quietly saying nothing. They did not exercise their possession, neither was they denying us to do. And what did they do on the 5th of May? Quickly came and occupied, because they saw at this point of time was that the Indians' economy was down. downright pandemic. They could do nothing about it. If India was to show itself that it is closer to somebody, it was evident. When I saw the whole thing, and if you compare it with what happened in Vietnam and what happens now in the information warfare domain, it was identical kind of thing. The threat continued the way it was to Vietnam. In a similar manner, it was to India. When 79 war took place, it was our foreign minister, later the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was on the soil discussing with Deng Xiaoping when the Chinese attacked Vietnam. This point of time, they did what they did at a point of time when the pandemic was affected. Causes almost similar to our line. Border dispute. To Vietnam, why are you closer to Soviet Union? To us, why are you closer to the United States of America? If not, we will teach you a lesson. Yet another cause, why are you to the Vietnamese? Why are you troubling Kampuchea to India? Why are you troubling Pakistan? Just see the kind of things in the information warfare and the way they decimated along with the global time. And you saw the Pakistani foreign minister just come back from there. And if you read some of the editorials of the Pakistan newspaper, absolutely, if Global Times is the mouthpiece of the Communist Party of India, I think the Pakistanis have virtually become their mouthpiece and their stooges to be able to convey exactly. But that gives what is happening in their mind. That is what is the most important thing that I thought I would tell you. Now, when you see all this, and I will just about tell you, now you see how the unilateral part of the LAC, when they do it, they quietly convey. There is no LAC. Now, if you see the statement which has now come out from there, they're talking about 1959. November 1959 is what, and the Global Times is beautifully and highlighted that aspect to say that should India not adhere to 1959 LAC, and if they want to go to war, we are ready for war. That's the kind of statement at a time when the two foreign ministers have just finished their talk. The next statement in the information warfare through Global Time comes. If you do not accept, we are talking about status quo. We are talking about status quo ante. All of it is into the dustbin. Now they are saying, if you do not agree to the LAC or the Green Line, which Chow En Lai had stated on 23rd of November 1959, if that is not acceptable to India, if India wants a war with China, so be it. We are ready for a war. Xi Jinping has just given call to the Chinese that they should be ready for a war. So this is the kind of pressure they are wanting to put on India to see whether India crumbles. So this is a very important part of the information warfare. Only thing where things could have gone wrong the Chinese way, or the Chinese may have bitten more than they can chew, that the Chinese never expected that the world community, especially all the democracies, would stand together against China and isolate China. So China now looks for an honorable exit. Now, this is something, however good information you may be, however much that you may be a believer in Sun Tzu's dictum of the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without a fight, but the imponderables which exist have not been seen. Again, when you see, look at it, you do the kind of psychological, kind of coercion, kind of the ability for these Chinese to do in the South China Sea, in both Spratly and the Paracel Island, they convert artificial islands into air bases, they put in missiles, not a word uttered by anybody. A few noises, sectors here and there, nothing happens. They go to the international arbitration. Arbitration is won by the Philippines. No, total discard for that arbitration award. This is what gives strength then to the countries that they engage, they see, they infiltrate, they strangulate the system, and then manipulate the system to their expansionist way of. So that is what I thought I would bring to your notice. Now, just to talk about is to tell you how the nations are using even the computer technology, communication technology, to translate these dreams of expansionism. Smaller countries would be a victim of this wolf warriors, and subjugating India would mean a free run to the Chinese. They might then think they are the center of the universe and all others are satellites. But it is like the Arab proverb, kill one, scare thousand. Once you have been able to succeed in subjugating a power like India, which is seen as a rising power, and is seen, so you create all kinds of pressures, more of psychological through information, whether it is the print information, whether it's computer, all kinds of things. This is what happens. You'll be surprised how information warfare can also be used to a big advantage to a business customer. Just about a year and a half back, I'd gone down to Sarojini Nagar in Delhi to pick up a shirt from one of the things. Now that particular chap, I was just inquiring from him. He did not have it on the shelf at that point of time. I told him, I said, do you have a striped blue shirt? He looked at it, he said, no, just wait for 5 minutes. Within 10 minutes, you'll be surprised, the shirt arrived. How did it come? Because he just went on a computer model on this thing, and he put that up, and it was there available 6 shops away. The franchisee was one. It was available over there. The person just kept me busy talking for 5 minutes. The shirt was there. I said, it wasn't on the shelf. He said, no, sir, we have about 6-7 outlets and we know exactly what it is. So it is not unnecessarily stocking and having stuff when you know how you can manage it through your complete computer software. What shirt, where is it lying? What is it lying there? What is its size? Everything is all, so that the inventory management is less, but the sales are more. And to ensure that everybody's demands are met and they know by simple logic, even if we want not tell such a brilliant audience that I have today, that how it is done. Even on a normal, I open my iPad and first thing it gives is who is asking for the information. Even if I'm wanting to have any information on China or anything for that matter, it would tell me, but also the iPad tells the person concerned who is seeking this information. So it is all there. And you seek one. Just the other day, my wife was wanting to see some bedsheets of a particular kind, and thereafter, having accessed it 4 times, 5th time, you need not worry. It would automatically come onto your computer, laptop, mobile. Even if you don't want it, it will still be coming because it's all artificial intelligence. It tells you that this particular person seems to be interested in this kind of a thing, and therefore constantly keep showing it till you finally say, come, do you want it to be shown again or not? You say no, then they'll stop showing it to you. So this is the kind of information warfare. You look at anything, it would come again and again to you to brainwash you or to constantly tell you or to sell itself or to be able to prevail upon your kind of thinking or to store your line of thinking. This is all about that we need to be worried about. A word of the social media that we've been talking about. Now, social media creates an interactive platform using a web-based technology, computer and mobile technology, facilitating the creation and sharing of information, ideas, and career interests and other forms of expression via virtual communication and network. Social media has reshaped the way entities communicate with each other. Worldwide, social media has strongly pervaded the armed forces, impacting all sections of military environment. It is also its Achilles heel. Now, 95% of the military communication is almost rooted to the civil communication. So the civilian technologies and the military technology are almost identical. So it is nothing very much, and how one is dovetailing and piggyback the other. Information posted by armed forces personnel is mixed and is for intelligence purposes and by those working against the state. However, the opportunities of social media far outweigh the challenges and threats in the security domain. Social media is an influential communication instrument which is leveraged and correctly can engage an enormous audience. The social media space is also fraught with danger, which can have adverse effect on the operational security. Smartphones. Now, a lot of times you say smartphones are the key weapons and tools of social media, but they're weapons. They're like any weapon. If you have a weapon, but if you don't have an ammunition, the weapon is utterly useless. So it is that kind of a thing. So they are weapons which we must know how to use, when to use, and against whom to use. It's like an AK-47 can kill, but also defends you. Now, suffice to say, the advances in information technology have dramatically impacted the nature of warfare by creating additional layer of complexity to the conventional battleground. Comprehensive guidelines now need to be issued to be used as an information operations from which is nothing but a force. Now, I must also be able to tell you very clearly, post-Cold War, we realized it, that there were concerns of information warfare. Now, this term at that point of time got, use of information system, computers, communication network, database for military advantages, all of it were being used. And this is what the information warfare, the IW, what we call the information warfare, is important because vulnerable. Now, electronic information system is based on electronics, now, which is civilian, as both civilian and the military are now almost increasingly dependent on the civilian electronic system and increasingly vulnerable to all kinds, whether they are terrorist groups, whether they are countries indulging in harboring such non-state actors. They're not non-state actors, they're paid by the states. Now, such warfare, though less expensive, more knowledge-based, does not require skills of a soldier for physical fitness or things of those kind, less risky, better payoffs than hijacking, terrorism, killing, sabotage, assassinations, all of it, you find much less is only knowledge is power, and that knowledge which they're wanting to use it. So therefore, the information warfare also provides opportunities, the temptation to use it. Now, when we talk about warfare, the warfare, like what Sanju said, is based on deception. All warfare is deception. Whether you want to be surprised and if you want to know about strength, location, numbers, terrain, size, technology, what the whole purpose of the information warfare. Again, I'm reminded of what Patton used to be talking about. And when you saw that movie Patton, when he said, no bastard ever won a war dying for his country. He won it, and making the other bastard die for his country. And his country, what the basic thing is, aim is to accomplish the mission at least cost. That is the basic thing. Least cost, the mission must be accomplished. And today, when increasingly the budgets are shrinking, that is why you had the Shekatkar committee to see to it how we could get bang for our buck. And that bang for our buck was ensure that all of these means that are available to us, especially the information warfare, how it could be utilized against having huge strength. Even in Beijing today, you have not less than 50,000 to 1,000 computer operators involved only in ensuring and monitoring nothing but software and computer warriors. They're nothing but info warriors, computer warriors, call them by any name. They're ensuring and hacking and getting to know what's just not happening in China and controlling China, but what's happening the world over and disseminating. Instances, even that is why when the government of India decided to ban almost 180 applications, basic Chinese apps being banned was that all of them picked up information. Very simple. There was nothing that one had to do. I just had to have a mobile which gave away my GPS location. Now, very simple. When I'm moving around with my mobile, at the end of the day, if you are having a smartphone or otherwise, it will tell you that you went to South Block. What did you see? You went down to Kashmir House. What did you notice? Well, they'll ask you 2-3 questions which are not even, was it the same? Was this thing available there? You can imagine the mobile is there. You haven't opened it. You haven't spoken to anybody. But at the end of the day, it is tracking all their events and is able to tell you where all you went. When this kind of a mobile, which is in your pocket, is being sold by a particular firm, that is where you found that in the 5G technology, UA was not permitted, USA objected to it, UK objected, now we are also objecting to it, and we wouldn't let them in is because it gives away everything, just everything. You are not, that is what the information technology, and everything is looking hunky-dory on the surface of it, that nothing is safe, every input is being given away. So you find that even Wuhan virus has set us thinking. It is protecting people in war. As the Arab proverb always says, kill one and scare 1,000 lot, and so on. But what is this real threat all about? The real threat really comes from the fake news. Too much information, unprotected information, information which can be hacked, likely to be distorted, misuse or use of information. There is so much of information that is flowing that we really cannot analyze. There is analysis of this information extremely important. In a loaded with information, you don't know which of it is relevant and which of it is irrelevant. Is it real? You don't seem to know it. And if it is real, should you use it or shut it off? It is a dilemma which comes up. Now, best is to integrate, as I look at it, IW, the information warfare, in our planning, and then see the pros and cons of it. That's how this digitization is excellent. There's no doubt. Just put in a virus or put in a particular set into it and say random zero in your banking. You can well imagine somebody would turn overnight a pauper, and some paupers might turn overnight rich, and those many people would have lost all their wealth. So this is the kind which an enemy country, through information warfare, through the various viruses can insert it, can play havoc with our system. Now, would it replace some military capabilities? No, generally, we generally say in the army that you'll find people patrolling, and they'll tell him that you get this information by this time and this it is. So you really have to walk that long distance, maybe 2 hours, get to the thing, be there, and then be able to retrieve yourself. So you have spent a lot of time, you may get information, you may not get information. But today, you have all kinds. You have a UAV, you have satellites, you have all kinds of means of getting the information of a particular thing without even having visited the site. However, a picture is worth 10,000 words. Satellite can give you a lot of information, can come to you, but having confirmed. So you have to really see whether it's supplementing your information or it's supplanting your information or it is substituting by not sending people over there. Let it be. Now, I would say, should we treat this kind of information warfare? Don't touch it, because it seems to be more creating destruction than anything. Anything and everything have their good points. You have your point. You have to see how best you can utilize for your own good, and nothing better than an information coming to you, what a commander wants, and at a point of time when you want to use his force at a place where the enemy is weak, and by the information that is not used anything, but it has come to him through the computer technology, what better could it be? Nothing like that. Implications would lead, you have to be careful. Do such an information lead to conventional warfare? Would it lead to a conventional warfare, or would it prevent? Now let's take the present scenario of China with us. Chinese have adequate information about us as to are we ready or are we not ready. But still, they're not very clear about one factor, that is the human factor, how it would be, the comprehensive willpower of a nation and of the troops concerned. Galwan has told them that, look, the raw courage of the Indian troops is what it is. Now again, south of Pangangso, it is proved again that a particular heights which the Indians can climb faster than them and have occupied, and now they are not going to vacate it. So these are things which, however much information warfare you may have, however much input you may have of the other country, their GDP may be 5 times more than us, your modernization may be 3 times more than us, the ability to spend on defense may be 3 times, 4 times more than us. These imponderables are something which again puts a nation to a back foot to be able to say, can we launch a war? Can we launch a war on India now? If the answer is no, they cannot launch a war, because these are the things which, whether you have information warfare, the information warfare will tell you all about it. But this imponderable, the morale of troops, how are they going to be able to react to it? How troops are acclimatized? How motivated are the troops? These are things which other aspects won't tell you. These are some things which are your own strength. And that, when you get this kind of information, acts as a force multiplier. You know exactly what it is. Now, if you're occupying Helmet Top, you're occupying Black Top, you're occupying your Magar Hill, you're occupying your Gurung Hill, you're occupying your Razangla on south of Pangangso, not allowing the enemy to establish a foothold, you can well imagine blocked an axis from G129, that Aksai chain, the 6 axes that are coming in, one of it comes to Chushul. One of it goes down to Pangangso, the other of it goes down to Depsang, the fourth of it goes down to Demchok. So all these roads which are emanating from the main axis, and the one where they could have used the mechanized, they have become defunct. They cannot use it. So this is what is important. You may have it, but if you are unable to use it at the right time and are thinking, you would lose an opportunity and never again get an opportunity to use it. So these kind of things, information warfare does tell you, but the human part of it still, which you cannot get alone, the humans and leadership, motivation, the desire, the zeal, the vision, the kind of, that the one word in Hindi, they say, jazba. That, if it is there in your troop, however hard and whatever you may have, it might still not be able to. That is something that, but then how do you project these democratic values. That's something which we really need to look into it. We have a democracy where freedom of speech and all of it is there. And you have now faced with two enemies, China and Pakistan. China, totally autocratic. Pakistan, a democracy, which is sham, hardly a democracy. It's the army which actually controls Pakistan, has been since 47 until date. So there is no doubt about it. So you find everything is controlled there. And everything in India is to be asked. So you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, and all kinds of things where you put your disagreement with the government or whichever way you wish to put, and you ask for so it's all in the open domain. So what need to know basis you need also to the information warfare. This also kind of a thing allows you to be able to give away how the nation thinks. How is the nation working? What is it that can divide the nation? Who is wanting it what? Reason is very simple. In India, democracy. A democracy means you have to elect governments. Over there, it's autocracy. You have to select the people who will lead the government. So there's a lot of difference in electing and nominating or selecting people to lead the government. So this is where they have understood the system and they're manipulating the system. They're strangulating the system to their good without doing anything. There's nothing you can do because India is a democracy. So the civilian society and the military have to work in sync. That in a situation like ours, today's situation I'm talking about, where situation is tense along the LAC, the civilian society and the military have to work in sync and not ask too many questions. You can ask questions that could well be indoors. You could ask questions in where it's indoor, where people are called for and you can be given a reply, but not in the public domain. Because when you ask questions in the public domain and then you are being answered also in the public domain, then I think you're giving away half of whatever the strength that you have. The strength depletes when you're doing that. So IW can actually, improve or complicate the issues. So this is also another very drawback. So the computers, your data processing, communication, your video conferencing are all driving economic growth and hence changing the military thinking and the military planning. The world over, I would admit as a veteran, information warfare is the mother of the non-kinetic threat. Predicting the future battlefields is both an art and a science. The entry of the disruptive technology proves to be a game changer. The invisible wars of future have already commenced around the world. Cyber warfare will escalate to newer heights as more and more compressed, digitized, big data analysis, processing speeds, and information overload will need a robust decision-making system with enough checks and balances and access control and data parity. Now, degree of autonomy in tactical situation will be critical. Albert Einstein, when he was asked, he very nicely put it, he said, I know not with what weapon World War III will be fought. World War IV will be fought with sticks and stone. I'm surprised on the 7th of September, you find that the PLA troops are not just coming with weapons, they're also coming with gunda, the bashas and the dandas and everything. So probably Albert Einstein, they need now to have something like between 2.5 and 3 or between 3.5 and 4, because he said, I do not know with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stone and World War V with crossbows. So Chinese are a mix of all hybrid kind of a thing. So the technological progress is like an axe in the hands of a pathological criminal. With that, I would end and be grateful to all of you who have given me the time. And should you have some questions to ask, by all means. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was such a fantastic session. My biggest takeaway was, what you mentioned towards the end. Information warfare has both tangibles and intangibles. And a lot of us focus only on the tangible part of, what is fed to us, whether it is, through TV channels, whether it's electronic media, print media, social media. It doesn't matter what the channel is, but the tangibles is what we focus on. And, the intangibles, like you mentioned, the jazba of the fighting troops, whether they're soldiers of, Indian Armed Forces or even civilian soldiers who who actually fight the information warfare in different ways. The passion that comes out is something no adversary can actually, gauge or even measure. And that comes out only at the right time. So I think that is such a fantastic thing to put across. We do have a few questions that have come up. And I'll take one that I found very interesting first. It says organizational structure for building any capability must be optimized for a total conflict scenario. And this is especially true in terms of resource mobilization and utilization. If information warfare is viewed as an organization structure, what are your thoughts and where does India stand in this case?
Absolutely. I would say that information warfare, if it is, it must be gelled in, it must be dovetailed in defense planning. It would take a long time. I wouldn't say that it is not very much a part of it. You really have to have an information department, and therefore you have now a start is just about starting. You have a cyber state department, you have the space department, you have the things. The United States have started a space cyber command. So you have, it will take time. It takes time to go on board, and as part of the mobilization, as you said, or part in a conflict scenario, it plays a very, very important role. We have to be very, very careful also. How to use it is what is my thing. I go along to say that, yes, it must form part of the defense planning. It must form of the structure. It must be part of it so that we are protected. And I would even suggest and go a step further that there would be no harm in any regimental forms of organization that we have in the defense forces. A small team, maybe even 10 people, are dovetailed into the entire thing, whose sole responsibility is to gather information, to pass on the information, to be able to do both ways, so that at least at any point of time, the commanders have inputs to be able to take the right decision at the right time. So that we must be able to not put our troops at places where you just might confront something. So this information warfare as such, I go along with you, must be forming a part of the system. As yet, we have not fully done it. We are in the process of it.
Okay, all right. So there is a question which I can sort of link to what you just said now in terms of, even at the unit level, we must have a small team that will manage this. And the question I have here is, Ministry of Defense has a PRO section, public relations officer who's part of, the ministry. Public affairs is the purview of the Ministry of Defense, and it has an archaic PR machinery. There are regional PROs that report to the defense PRO. However, they do not come under local formations, and they are largely out of sync with the actual needs of the armed forces. How can this be consolidated at the joint services level so that the messaging has the right impact?
To some extent, we are a democracy. And in a democracy, they see to it that the civilian control fully control. The PRO, MOD, though there's a colonel posted over there, he doesn't come under the army. He works for the Department of the Ministry of Defense, and they have regular allied cadre of the information media, which under whom this entire setup is. You could be right that they may not have the complete input, but of course, whenever they issue a statement, we have also the PI now in the Army headquarters, which also vets their statements, and there is a good common, they are all on the same floor of the South Box, so this is nothing very difficult to know about it. So they have, so it is very essential. Like you said, the regional PRO, they are also vetted out, they are also in sync with it, because they may be certain, but most of them you would have noticed are service officers who are regional PRO. Even at the MOD, there's a colonel who's the PRO now, who issues a statement whenever such incidents take place or whatever the government is wanting to say. But to say that they would totally not in sync will not work out. But yes, to some extent, to a large extent now, like you found a lot of people saying that when the Kargil ops were going on, you had almost a daily briefing being done, and people came on the television and told everybody, and why aren't we doing like that over here? I don't think. Every setup has its own nuances, whether we should at that point of time be doing it. That was a war which was going on, and therefore a briefing had to be done. This isn't a war. This is a dispute which the Chinese have transgressed. The talks are on. The transgression mustn't be converted into intrusion. And therefore, these talks are going on. And now to give a daily statement would not be done. Even in China, you find that it's the Ministry of their Foreign Affairs comes up on this thing and give a daily statement. Whenever any event takes place, they give a statement. Similarly, from the Indian side, you have from the Ministry of External Affairs come and give a statement. But the normal is should something firing occur, ceasefire violations occur, something like that occur. So there is the Ministry of Defense, PRO, who issues an official mouthpiece of the government of India, which says so. I think so far it's working well. And sometimes, let me be honest with you, little less knowledge at that level is better, rather than a person equipped with too much of knowledge and he gives away something or interprets to what he thinks about. There's a little buffer. One can always go back and correct it later, should he have gone wrong somewhere, rather than some professional who's there and once he said something, then even in Kargil, sure, we noticed that some people had got to be changed for whatever the reason it may be. So I think the system is working. Yes, I would agree that they may not be in the complete know-how of everything, but that is also like what Mr. Narasimha Rao used to say a number of times, no decision is also a decision. So that is the kind of... Yeah.
Very true, sir. What you said about, having a little less knowledge is definitely better than having somebody with so much knowledge that he is somewhere, psychologically, at least he wants to show off that he wants to share that knowledge. Yeah. So very true. Okay. I'll move on to the next question, which is just a one-liner actually. I mean, it's a very crisp one. Can we consider cyberspace and infospace interchangeable in today's scenario?
To some extent, yes. To some extent, yes. The cyberspace has its own, it's also a part of the whole thing, and how you utilize it and how you go about it. Because after all, everything is dealt with cyber. All the inputs also are going to come to you from various other sources. And information warfare is nothing but a subset of it is the info domination, the dominance of the information of these subsets are there. So cyberspace is part of it, and that is what is gathering information. And the dissemination of the information or to who it is to be done, yes. I would say yes. My answer would be yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next question I have is, information warfare is as much part of the civilian setup as it is of the armed forces. And you yourself, you mentioned, that it is political, economic, and military all put together. So the question here is, at present, we have at least, a couple of decades of backlog work when it comes to integrating electronic warfare, cyber warfare, psyops, and intel deception in an overall information warfare landscape. What would your suggestions be to the government if we have to leapfrog in this domain?
Now, first and foremost, we must have a very independent department set up for cyber, for info, because after all, even economic intelligence or intelligence of any kind, which affects the economy, which affects the national security, which affects your diplomacy, which affects your standing amongst the nations, it affects your entire currency standing, or it affects your health, it affects anything and everything, which direct influence of this thing. I think there is a dire need to have an independent department which deals with cyber, space, information, electronic, all of it gathering, and then on need-to-know basis, passing out to the concerned people. And today, I would even say that if the government of India we should have no less the cyber warriors, call them info warriors, the cyber warriors who keep gathering information, and the info warriors who keep disseminating information and also gathering information must be there, because the computers are there with us. Everything, whether it is smartphones, whether it is computers, whether there are satellites which are giving you information, whether it is human which is submitting the information, all of it. We really need an independent ministry which deals with it and ensures that all our assets are protected at all times. None of them are hacked by anybody, by any time, and especially when it comes to air, when it comes to railways, when it comes to banking, when it comes to your education, when it comes to your think tanks, all of it. We have to see that all information has to be protected, defended, and to ensure that only the relevant information is passed on to people who need to know. there is an absolute, in today's world, 100% a need is there for the government to step in and to be able to take all of the civil and the military all on board. And what you said, Uma, definite dire need to have a department which handles this exclusively.
Thank you, sir. I completely agree there, because unless you have one apex body that will, sort of, like you said, command and control at the beginning of your session, if that command and control is not established as one single body, it can lead to very dire consequences for us as far as information warfare is concerned.
Especially when you have adversaries like China, you have adversaries like Pakistan, which are so autocratic, where everything is controlled by the government. It's very essential in a democracy that at least there, what you rightly said, an apex body which takes care of it and does not let any of this kind of information which is coming from the enemy country, which might affect people, thinking that probably the effect is there, especially when mobiles are there and everybody has access to everything and anything now. It's unbelievable. I think 95% of the information what we might get in the next 50 years would be available in the last 5 years only.
Very true. It is mind-boggling. It is actually mind-boggling.
Absolutely mind-boggling.
Okay, thank you, sir. Before we end the session, I would like to thank a few people who actually have been with us, the last 3 days and are part of today's session also. We have Lieutenant General VM Patil, Lieutenant General Chandale, Air Commodore Amitava Bose, Brigadier Abhimanyu Ghosh, IG BSF Mr. Sharma, AVM Pranay Sinha, Dr. Nagaratna, Brigadier Narinder Dhan. We also have Bipindra NC, who was our first moderator in, day before yesterday. We also have Dr. Dipankar Adhya. I would want to thank all of them, and Major General Rajan Kochar, who also has been with us for the last 3 days. Thank you so much for joining us. General Kulkarni, thank you very, very much for a fantastic session. I think, we were able to sort of cover a large ground with these on these 3 days. And as CKS, we will definitely be coming back with more webinars on very topical subjects. And we would like to, I have just been reminded, Dr. Janmay Thakur was also present in today's session. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. We will be coming back again with another webinar series very soon. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow the CKS page on Facebook, our website, cksindia.in, and we will keep you updated about what is happening in the world of digital networks and data. Vineet, do you want to say anything?
Well, this is enlightening. I entered as a wrong man, and General, let me tell you, I'm going back enlightened, and this was a fantastic session. It's an honor to see you, sir, on the line. We have heard about you, we read about you, and meeting a hero virtually is also an honor, sir. Thank you very much for coming and enlightening us.
Grateful. Thank you.